Hi, I'm Suzanne Turner, and welcome to a podcast delving into the personal narratives within the clinical research industry. Through candid interviews, we'll learn about the personal journeys and motivations of individuals who have chosen this profession, what I like to call their why. This podcast is not just for industry insiders. It's for everyone curious about the human side of healthcare. Beyond the industry's negative reputation, we'll shed light on the dedicated professionals behind clinical trials. Join us as we uncover the heart and passion of those working tirelessly behind the scenes in clinical research. Welcome to Heart of the Trial. Hello, lovely listeners, and welcome to Heart of the Trial, where we dive into the human side of healthcare, highlighting the voices often left out of the spotlight. I'm your host, Suzanne Turner, and in this episode, I had the absolute pleasure of interviewing my very first fellow TMFer, Ann Ackley-Fifer. We dive into her incredible journey from the paper TMF days to becoming a certified Viva expert and independent consultant. Ann shares what keeps her passionate for nearly 20 years in the field, her thoughts on ICH E6R3, and the future of TMF in a digital-first world. We also talk about the importance of foundational TMF knowledge, visibility for sponsors, and yes, why those just documents matter so much more than people think. I hope you enjoy, and until next time, stay curious and stay compassionate. All right, so welcome to Heart of the Trial, Ann. I'm so excited to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Why don't you start by telling our listeners what it is you do?
Well, I am in consulting, and this is after a long journey, starting out in 2006 in the TMF realm, back in the days when we were just digitizing paper. There really wasn't a whole lot of conversation about what all the data in those documents were. It was just tag it and bag it, as I like to say.
Yeah.
And then, so moving on from there, at a CRO, I moved into working for a sponsor, and got to see things from that side. And after almost 5 years there, I went into consulting so I could learn to help other people identify and solve issues, which is one of my favorite things to do is to help people do things better. So that's my journey.
And do you specifically focus on TMF or do you do things beyond TMF?
TMF is the heart of where my skills lie, but lots of adjacent areas. I've even got in my Viva certification, so I don't just know how to use the system, but how the system's configured, things like that. So I'm beginning to understand more and more how the pieces are moving as we move into the digital age.
That's so exciting. And actually, just for our listeners, in case they're not aware, Viva is an electronic trial master file platform, and it happens to be one of the biggest, probably most known ones in the industry. And of course, I'm really excited to talk to you because, as our listeners will know, TMF is my expertise, and you're my first TMF person to have on the podcast. So, of course, I absolutely love that. So that's actually really cool that you've gotten certified in it. What does it mean? What does it take to actually get certified in
It's 2 weeks of grueling classes taught by some
that?
wonderful people. I really enjoyed the classes that I took. And then at the end, you take your certification exam, and then every year there's new features that roll out for the TMF and the other modules in the platform, and you have to be up to date on those and test on those once a year to maintain your certification. So it's not a one and done thing. You have to keep learning.
Yeah. That's amazing. Yeah, that's one of the things that's nice about that platform, and actually several of the platforms now where they're finally almost realizing how important, or like you said, the heart, of trial master file being the heart of it, and making sure all those other pieces start to talk to it, because that's the important part, right? I always like to say, that's like a puzzle, and that we're the ones that put the puzzle together. And so to be able to grab all those pieces and do that, and you've taken your expertise beyond by getting certified in a platform that's extremely well known in the industry. So that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, although I have to say though that it was my father. He's an engineer. He built control systems for power plants.
Wow.
So like picking up on those sort of things over the years, listening to my dad talk, and then of course my hubby's a full stack developer. So I can't write a lick of syntax, but let me tell you, I understand how all those pieces move.
That's well, which is what I think most TMF individuals, that's what we are good at, right? Is understanding how they need to fit together and to support the teams to do that. So, okay, so how did you get into this? Because you said your journey started in 2006. So, what happened that started that journey?
Well, my undergraduate studies are in Japanese studies, liberal arts. Um,
Well, that's amazing. So not anything like TMF related, but I love it.
mm-mm. No, and the weird thing is, I was a 19-year-old kid in community college. I'm like, what am I gonna do? Oh, here's a school that,
Hmm.
I liked anime, so here's a school that taught Japanese. So that's what I went for.
Oh,
Young kid not
wow.
knowing what I wanted to do. But in looking for work that was closer to home, I was raising two young children. So um my brother-in-law at the time, was working at a large CRO and suggested
Hmm.
TMF. And it's like, okay, putting things together, puzzles together, putting things where they belong. This definitely jives with my particular skill set. So, I mean, entry level, no clinical research experience,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
I built it by reverse engineering the documents. They all come by. You not only have to know what they are, but why they are, and you start putting it all together, and you start building your knowledge base, and climbing my way up from there. So,
Yes, that's one of the reasons I wanted you to be a guest on my podcast is because I heard you on another podcast, and it amazed me how similar our stories were. And so that just fascinated me because the same thing, I came in, no experience needed. I didn't even know well, at least your brother-in-law worked at a CRO, because I had no idea what the industry even was. And the fact that you've built yourself up into an independent consultant, I mean, that's amazing. So how long were you at that CRO then?
10 and a half years.
Wow, that's you put in quite a long time, but you probably learned so much there, right?
I
As you
did.
worked your way up. Yeah.
Hmm.
And what happened when you left there? Did you go straight into consultancy or?
I did another quick, brief contract with another CRO before I ended up on the sponsor side.
Okay. What made you interested in switching to the sponsor side?
Um, I never really thought about that. It was a
Hmm.
job that came up, fit my skill set, and it gave me another angle to learn, how things fit together there versus a CRO. So
Hmm.
yeah, it was just an opportunity in the right time, right place.
That's amazing. And then you eventually became an independent consultant all on your own from after the sponsor. You're like, I'm going to go out there and start chasing this stuff on my own.
Well, actually, I got the consulting opportunity through Daylight Solutions, my current employer. And
Okay.
so I had never done consulting before, but I was always the kind of person who, well, if there was a problem, I tried to solve it, So it was
Hmm.
just kind of the natural progression of the career from there. And so I work with a small, close knit group of really highly intelligent and very solutions focused people, and I've been there, I've been with Daylight Solutions for 4 years as of the beginning of this month. So really enjoying the journey. There's always room to grow. They're always encouraging of continual learning, and so yeah.
That's amazing. I think that what we do with TMF is always evolving. Like even now, with the new ICHGCP E6 version, what is that, R3? Like I know it's like I know like it's taken so many years for it to come out, but yeah, the version 3 being out and them talking about um how much more it's on the sponsor now, and even changing words like from documents to records,
Hmm.
and how they're stressing so much different stuff, and that it, like I feel like we're always having to adapt. Do you find that challenging, or do you love that?
I find it challenging in that it's funny that these common sense regulations, they always come with common sense to
They
them, and
do.
it's just amazing that it takes it being written in black and white for people to adopt it, and even then you're still kind of shoving along the way, like for instance, one of the E6R3 things that's big
Yeah.
focus seem to be on the transparency. CROs need to make sure that their sponsors can have proper oversight over
Yeah.
their documents. And a lot of times, the CROs don't like people peeking in and seeing
No,
when things
they
are a
don't.
mess. And the thing is,
Mm-mm.
it's not supposed to be a mess that people are catching you on. It's supposed to, so it's a darn good thing that this came out because there's going to be no more of that, hopefully. At least it won't fly. So, you
Well, it
know,
gives the sponsor some more power now. Like they
mhm,
really should have had the power all along, but now it's in black and white writing that it's really going to give them the power to do it. You're so right. Yeah.
yeah.
So let's see. I want to ask you about. See, okay, I'm trying to do the math in my head right now. So you started in 2006. So we're
Yes, I'm
getting
old.
really. No! I was gonna say we're getting really close to like 20 years that you've been doing this.
Yes.
So, I always like to do this and ask my guests this, but 20 years is a long time. So there must be a reason you're like why you choose to continue to do this. What's your reason for that?
It's really just as simple as it's a very good fit. Um, as an autistic person, sometimes I struggle
Mhm.
with, I can struggle with social things. I can struggle with, being too blunt, not knowing how to put the filter on. I'm very direct. But those skills are, you know, in line with TMF because it has to be precise, direct.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
everything is in a special organization. So, I mean, it plays to my strong suits and I stick with what I'm good at and, just continue to grow from there.
Has there been any situation like working in the CROs and the sponsors that have like really inspired you, like that what you're doing, that the reason you're putting all that stuff in those straight lines and making it look good, like really having the impact that it is?
I like it when I can demonstrate how people doing things the right way benefits them. Like,
Mhm.
you can tell people all day you got to do this, this, and this, but if you don't not just tell them why, but show them why, and in a context that makes sense to them. Like a good example I like to use is, you're a monitor for a site and you're always having to look for, documents that you need updated. Just showing how to use quick filtration on an ETMF to show upcoming expired documents for the next 30 days and filter down to their site. Hey, now they've got a magic list they can take to the site with them and say, I can get all these documents. And that really hits home like, wow, the system can tell me what I need to do, you know?
Yeah. Who would have thunk? who, who would have thunk that the system was actually being useful? And I know we laugh about it, but it's because sometimes it seems so straightforward to us. But the individuals who don't like live and breathe TMF, sometimes we have to convince them that it's really worth it. Do you find that to be from when you started to now? Like, do you feel like that's shifted? Is it easier now to convince individuals than in the past, or do you find you still struggle?
I think it's definitely easier now because it's more tangible, because it's right in your face, it's digitized, whereas back when I started, it's just files in a file room. We'll get to them whenever, you know? I mean, there's
Mhm.
still a little bit of that going on now. Like I'll get to my documents when I can, and but Remember, we're the last people to be thought about until the inspector's knocking at the door. Then who's the first person they call? The TMF person. Okay, do we
That's
have everything? Yeah.
that's exactly right. It's
Yeah.
like we live the same lives, Anne. Like
Telling truth, dropping truth bombs. This is
the truth.
everybody's experience. The
Yeah,
TMF world.
I did actually when I worked at a CRO, and just as a reminder for our audience, a CRO is a clinical research organization that sponsors hire to run their clinical trials. So they're the ones doing most of the day to day work with the sponsor oversight. And when I worked there, and finally the system shifted to the point where TMF was involved in the teams, right? Because initially, back when you were working in the paper rooms, we were completely separate, right? Well, eventually we shifted into electronic, and I was part of the actual like trial team. And I did actually have a project manager tell me that it was literally the bottom of their list. They're like, TMF is literally my lowest priority. And I like to think that I feel like I've noticed a shift on the sponsor side, because I feel like, I don't know if you remember, but like by now it was probably like 8 years ago. I feel like there was such an intense time where sponsors were being hit during inspection for lack of oversight. And I feel I'm curious if you do too, that a lot of this that change and shift that we've seen with like E6R3 and other things in the industry, like a lot of sponsors are bringing their eTMFs in house versus
Hmm.
using their CROs and all, actually is the results of that happening. But I feel like so a lot more sponsors are getting to the point where they are seeing the benefit. And while yes, there's everyone's still so busy that sometimes those documents sit there, it's not necessarily the bottom of the list anymore. Do you kind of feel the same way?
I do. I do. And especially too, there's, there are multiple eTMF vendors out there,
Mhm.
not everybody is ready to take on the larger software vendors.
Mhm.
As long as it puts your documents in the system, collects an audit trail, and
Mhm.
um, you know, um, the data integrity is maintained from beginning to end, including at archival, lockdown. I mean, really, any 21 CFR Part 11 compliant system will do you.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
so taking things in house um, is is probably, I would say, the wisest choice because you have the most control. But I know also too that that's not always reasonable. We have really
Mhm.
tiny companies that don't have a lot of
Mhm.
in-house power to be able to manage those things, and so they outsource to CROs. But with the focus on visibility, CROs, in order to stay competitive, so that companies don't start taking in house and taking away from their revenue, they're going to have to start thinking about the oversight tools that they offer, visibility into things like issue trends, for one. Like, yeah, if a sponsor can see the documents, that's great. Usually they can only see the approved documents, but where is the visibility into things in progress? Where is the visibility into, you know,
Missing items.
missing items,
Yes.
or
Mhm.
incorrectly indexed items? Where's the quality
Mhm.
control? How are they supposed to know how well their CRO is doing unless they have that? So I think that that's going to be the key, is for CROs to be able to
Yes.
continue to offer those services, you know is to allow for visibility into the system.
And I really like that you said that, because I feel like it's also going to be somewhat of a challenge for some of these CROs to think beyond that the little hold they've been in, right? Because they may not have thought of how to actually present that. They hold it in a way that's internal. And I know I've seen this because I do tend to work with smaller sponsors. And some of the CROs they work with then are also smaller. They're not some of the big worldwide known CROs. And when you ask them for something that does seem so simple and straightforward, like how are you tracking those missing documents, and they can't give you a straightforward answer or an easily accessible document or something like an Excel. I wonder if that how much of a challenge that's going to be for the CROs to have to think about that in a little different way. That let's not guard ourselves so much. Let's work in that partnership.
Well, also, too, one of the things that I've seen is if you have to explain how metrics are calculated with so many caveats and nuances, and it's a worthless number. It is not worthless if you can't have a straightforward explanation. So, if you're getting the rundown from your CRO, then there's likely something not going right. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yes, absolutely. Again, we live the same life, and it's so funny. And now you do stuff beyond just your consulting, right? Because I know I've seen you at different like TMF Advance, like the CDISC, and also you like to do. Are you actually? I can't recall. Are you on a steering committee or just participate in the CDISC? I think I've seen you present at like every CDISC thing the last couple of years.
I haven't actually presented at CDISC yet.
Really?
No, but
Really?
I've been to the last American TMF interchanges.
Okay.
I do know some of the people who regularly speak, wonderful people.
Yes. Is it
So
TMF week then? Is it?
it was the TMF interchange in Baltimore, and then there's going to be the TMF
Mhm.
interchange in
It's October.
Tennessee. Yeah. So
I know I've seen you present somewhere though. Was it TMF week?
oh yeah, yeah, it was. I'm sorry, TMF,
Okay.
Montreal's TMF week.
Yes, yes,
Excuse
yes.
me.
I
Yes,
know there's so many. Like I'm like I know I've seen you around. So it's TMF week and all.
TMF week. I did present once. I was on a panel, the Harry Potter
Uh-huh.
panel, and then they called me to come back
Very
and play
fun.
countdown at the end of the week. They needed another contestant, so I came back and played the game. So um,
Yeah.
I
Do
lost
you
on a math error.
there are some amazing TMF people in our industry, a lot of knowledge, and it's I feel like for the most part everyone really likes to share, and I hope you have that same experience too, and I love that because the our we all have the same outcome, right? Healthy put together TMFs, because what is the point if they've gone through all this work and spent all this money and they have something successful that's truly going to help someone, and their TMF is crap and they can't get approved. Like that's like my biggest fear. Like I don't know, but that's what keeps me up at night. So I love that about our industry. Well, do you have any stories like any funny instances or scary instances that you've had with TMF that you could share?
Oh goodness. You know, you're asking me to take 20
20
years
years. I know,
and
I'm
condense it down
sorry.
to, it's like searching the archives. The stories are
I
there,
know.
but sometimes things are difficult to get out until the right prompt comes to remind me.
I
So
know.
much up here.
I'm trying to think of one too that I've experienced. I know I've worked on like I started with like you did back in the day when it was paper, and they used me a lot at the CRO as like a cleaner,
Hmm.
because we had a pretty big team. After you're smiling, I feel like you are understanding this. So they'd put me on a study and I'd make it beautiful.
Rescue
Everything.
studies.
Yes,
Yeah.
everything where it belongs. And then they'd go, this one over here needs help. We're pulling you from that one and we're putting you over to here. And they'd give you one that was like a giant mess, honestly. And then you'd go in and clean it up and then they'd move you again. It almost makes you sad because you're like, you better not mess that study up person that they're giving this to. I feel like you've experienced this.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Being handed a pile of junk and turning it
Yeah.
into treasure. Um, I've definitely had to do that. Trying to think of an interesting story. Um, I'd have to say though, just in general as a statement back to those paper days, there's something to be said for putting your headphones on and running
Yeah.
papers through a scanner and just tagging them with their metadata. It was kind of zen, you know. I miss those days when that's all I did.
Yeah.
Um, nowadays it's PowerPoints and meetings, and it's
Yes.
fun to meet people, it's fun to share information, but I really long for those simpler days. I really do. Yeah.
Sometimes sometimes I miss it. I miss it too. But I love that I get to help in a different way now. And honestly, I don't feel like I would be where I am now if I hadn't started there, because I don't feel like individuals who are entering the industry now in like TMF, I'm not sure that as many opportunities would be there. One, but two, like I don't think they're going to be taught like you and I were taught.
No.
Like we had to be detectives. Like
Yep.
you had to read those things. They wouldn't tell you what site it's for. You had to look at it and figure out that, oh, this is the PI name, and so that's the site, or oh, this is a sub I, and that sub I is for this PI site, and like I like I do love that, and I'm so grateful for that, because I really do feel like it's what's gotten me where I am. It gave me a great foundation. But speaking of, what kind of opportunities do you think are out there for individuals if they were interested in entering TMF right now with the way things are?
That's the difficult thing, and I see this as a larger shift, and not just in the TMF world, but increasingly those entry level items are being more technology focused, and technology does the what very well. You tell it what to
Mhm.
do, it does it. AI, machine learning. The problem is context and the why. You know, a machine can take all their information and synthesize it and come out with its response, but it'll never have that human experience behind it. In
Mhm.
clinical research, there's a patient waiting at a doctor's office. It isn't just something that and I know it sounds weird because we're just librarians in the end, at the end of the day, we're just librarians, but what we do affects patient lives. And so my biggest fear is that there won't be people learning from the ground up. They won't have those foundations. I wouldn't know anything about clinical research if I weren't somebody sitting at a desk as a paper jockey watching documents come by. You know, I learned
Mhm.
something from that. And it
Yeah.
was started with fundamentals. Put it here. And this is the reason why. And this is what the document
Mhm.
does. You know, what it describes, the process it supports. It's
Yeah.
we're losing fundamentals, and
Yeah.
that's not to say that we shouldn't evolve. In fact, technology can very much support people, but I think that the opportunities in TMF starting at the ground level are going to be fewer,
Mhm.
and more TMF is going to be integrated into the regular functional area jobs every day. And we do see
Mhm.
more and more the functional area should be owning their documents, the owning the responsibility for them. But you know, when volume takes over, you're going to need somebody to manage the whole library for you. You know, so
Yeah.
we need to be building those skill sets from the ground level up, and we can't lose that to machine learning and AI. It's a research assistant, not the professor, right?
Yeah. No, I love the way you said that. I really do, and I agree. It worries me because I already see lower level type roles from the TMF field already becoming obsolete because of the decentralization of TMF, and it's like you said, it's fantastic, but where's the person that connects all the dots, right? Because and that's where we come in, because yes, a data manager is an expert in data management and their documents, but and statistics for theirs, et cetera. But where's the person that connects all those dots and oversees that? And if we're not giving individuals the opportunity to build that foundation in TMF, what's going to happen when our generation ages out and
Hmm.
there's no one there to support that? So I really love the way that you said that, and I hope that it's something that we don't take too long to fix in the industry, or find a way to share that knowledge and build those fundamentals without having the paper documents. Because it was the same for me. Like I learned those documents and I didn't understand what they did, but I started to understand why we needed them and
Hmm.
started to listen in those team meetings and connecting those dots and understanding that why. And oh, you just said that so wonderfully. Yeah. So so we do have a lot of changes coming in the TMF industry, and I'm curious what you actually hope to see in the future. Is there something that you're hoping, um, like regulatory institutions put in place, or that system individuals create, or is there just anything that you're looking forward to or hoping happens in the future?
I'm actually looking forward to the standards that CDISC is putting out. The whole um, M11 standardized digital protocol. When every industry is speaking the same language, collecting the same data points, being named the same thing, then you're
Yes.
finding that collaboration can begin to happen. See, I know business is ruthless competition sometimes. I mean, let's face
Mhm.
it, that's business. But what if we, instead of by ruthless competition, we begin to cooperate? We begin to combine our
Mhm.
data sets, especially the little guys. Like, the
Mhm.
big guys, they got their data hoard and they're going to hold on to it. What about a consortium of little guys, little biotech companies getting together,
Mm.
deciding what to share? Hey, they're using the same standard. Their systems talk to each other. You see where I'm going with this? Little guys can
Mhm.
compete with the big guys if
Mhm.
they cooperate and drop the notion of uh, fighting in the jungle, fighting in the
Right.
concrete jungle, right?
I
Um,
like it.
I see a very hippie like future. I mean, as the hippie in me, work together, cooperate, do great things together, right? Um, Competition got us from single celled organisms to the complex creatures we are now, right? The next step is cooperation. Competition got us this far, cooperation's the next step. So I think that that's what these standards are going to do. They're going to get us all speaking the same language, working the same way for the same types of projects. Obviously there's going to be a little variation, but it's variations on a theme, a solid
Yeah.
theme. Um, and I'm on the Zone 5 committee for the TMF reference model version 4,
Mhm.
um, which is going to be speaking to the whole idea of digitally native documents where data in a system will print out, a document narrative, you know, rather than documents being mined for pieces of data to put into a system. That's the shift. Um, so I hope I concisely put all those ideas together. I branch out
Yeah.
too much there.
No, I think that's fantastic. I love that you have so much vision. My hope is just that people continue to support TMF. More and more sponsors will continue to see how important it is. I've been very lucky. The companies I've been working with lately, like they're so TMF positive, and I know from experience that that doesn't always happen, and that's amazing when the company truly sees the benefit of it and the outcome. Because I mean, this is wrapping up everything they're doing, and when the inspector, like you said, knocks on the door, they come for the TMF person. Why? Because they want to look at the TMF. So it seems so obvious, and yet I also get that they're just so incredibly busy.
Yeah.
So no,
I
go
would
ahead.
say
Go ahead.
though too, there's a lot of technology focus, which is good. Technology supports people. But I find that most of the problems that I end up solving tend to be end user education.
Uh huh.
They hand somebody a big scary system and they're like, have at it, read and apply. You're done. You're ready. You're ready to go. It's like, no, you're not. Where's the practical application? Where's somebody
Yeah.
leading me through and showing me how this matters to me? And so a
Hmm.
lot of my consulting is focused on that end user experience because I know when you hand somebody something and just say, have at it, they'll do the best they can. They'll muddle through, they'll
Yeah.
cut corners. And guess what? Now you got messy data. right? So,
Yes.
you know, um, getting rid of the misunderstandings of what the system can do and its limitations, you know, understanding how to get it to work best for them because everybody
Mm-hmm.
has different needs. You have data
Yeah.
managers and monitors and people all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I would say that the end user focus is a lot of where my consulting ends up turning towards, even if the initial is like, "Hey, can you look at our technology?" It's like, "Yeah, I can look at your technology, but can I look at how your people use that technology?"
Yeah. I'm actually glad you brought that up. Do you, when you do your consulting, do you tend to work um with sponsors for long times or short times, just for like little, this is the need they have and you solve that need and move on, or?
All across the spectrum. I had a long-term client for 2 years, working with them, and then I've had, many different clients since. So I've had both sides of the spectrum on that. Most clients come with a specific need, and it's for a specific time period. Um, a lot of times it's, well, we don't even know what's necessarily wrong. Come in,
Yeah.
take a look at our system configuration, look at our SOPs, tell us how to do things better. And when it's wide open like that, that gives me a lot of creative license
Right.
in how to deliver, unless they have something very specific in mind. So, yeah, I've worked all along the spectrum of length and types of engagements with clients.
So what's your favorite type of like TMF work to do in current times?
Hmm. I would have to say it's that magic moment when you make that connection with somebody, when you show them, all that tedious putting data into a system, like how they can take all that data they put in and pull it out and make it work for them. You know, that
And
aha
that like,
moment, like,
woo,
oh, like when you make that connection, that's it. That's all you have to do is get that spark, and then the rest will go from there. They're
because now,
listening.
yeah, they're into it. They like this TMF thing. That's
Hmm.
amazing. Yeah. I love when, honestly, I'm one of those weirdos. So I love when I need to write like SOPs and create training documents and all. I like getting into that nitty-gritty like that. I'm such a goof. Most people don't want to touch an SOP with a 10-foot pole, but I'm like, I'll do it. I'll, I'll happily do it. Um, okay, so gosh, I feel like you've done so much in your entire 20 years of TMF expertise, and which I love because I'm such a TMF person. Is there like maybe a piece of advice you could give from your like TMF? So what would be your advice to any maybe sponsors out there who might be listening that it may not be their focus or they don't know what to do with it or anything? Just what's your advice to anyone who might be listening about TMF?
I would have to say that it's the story of your trial from beginning to end. And if you're missing pages, you don't have a full story. So, you know, it may feel like it's low on your priority list, but when the inspector's knocking at the door, they're going to want to read the book and you know, not hear stories by mouth. They want to see the black and white on paper, or at least in system. We're moving away from paper. I guess I should talk about
Yeah.
paper. Showing my age here, but I think you
Yeah.
get where I'm going with this.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and especially because, they've been talking at different TMF events recently, because everything's going electronic. Inspectors are wanting access to your electronic environment. So it truly is going away from paper, not just from like a business standpoint, but from the inspection
Oh
standpoint. So
yeah.
that's fantastic advice because, yes, they want in your system. And from what I heard at one of the events, someone was talking about, they may like to play around in your system longer than they initially tell you. They may say, "Oh, our inspection is from this date to this date," and then they want access for another 3 weeks.
Hmm.
Um, so that's really fantastic advice. When the inspector knocks on the door, they're going for your TMF, and You want to have, so don't narrate it, right? Don't be the narrator. Actually give them that book. I love it. So
Inspection readiness is a mindset and not an activity performed quarterly or biannually per SOP. It's not a
yes.
cleanup every 6 months. It's consistent work to make sure that it's inspection ready. Because,
Mhm.
yes, like you said, the regulators are coming in and they want access directly to the system. And they're going to find something. They're going to find
Mhm.
something if you're not keeping up with it.
Mhm.
You may think they can't, you may think you can sweep it under the carpet, but that's what audit trails do. They tattle. And with good reason. We want to make sure there's data integrity.
Yes.
More than that,
Yes.
but really that they do tattle. If you have
Yes.
somebody who's, the lead data manager on a study and the last time they logged into the system was 3 months ago,
That report's going to tell you that when
that
they
report's going
run
to tell
it.
you. Yes.
And they're also going to see that, oh, wow, an awful lot of these documents were QC'd 3 weeks ago, but they are dated from 6 months ago. So, that last ditch push when you hear they're coming to suddenly get through 6,000 documents, it's not the look. It's not the look, because I think something that, you know, uh, team members may not think of is they think, oh, it's just the TMF, it's just a document, it's just whatever. But the thing is, when an inspector is seeing issues with things that you think are minor, they're seeing issues with minor things. Isn't that going to concern them?
Mhm.
Because if this is what's happening with this minor thing, what about this super major thing over here? And that's going to send up the red flags and make them want to dig. At least that's my experience. I don't know about you.
Oh yeah. Yeah, like you mentioned about the documents being QC'd right before a whole bunch of documents influx, coming in right before the inspection being QC'd. It's like that's a big red flag right there. In fact, they look
Yep.
for that flag. So,
Mm-hmm.
if you think that you're covering your tushies at the last minute there, you're not. You're actually
You're
sending up a red
not.
flag. So
Mm-hmm.
inspection readiness must be a mindset and not an activity performed at intervals.
Yep. And that just means keeping your TMF looking good. So trust your TMF people is what we're saying.
Yes.
Learn your TMF. And honestly, I think, most of us are like, we love TMF so much. We love talking about it. We love sharing. So if someone out there, if they're like, they don't know what to do, find your TMF person, because I bet they want to chat with you.
Oh
Bet
yeah.
they'd love to. Yeah.
I think it's important too for companies to not only have their TMF, dedicated people, but within each functional area, definitely have a TMF champion identified. Somebody who's really good
Yes.
at TMF, but in the functional area so
I
they can
like it.
speak specifics about the types of documents that they produce. Um, and also too, then there's always somebody working between each functional area and TMF sitting at the heart of every function, right? That's why I
Yes.
thought your podcast was a TMF focused podcast because I've always said TMF is the heart of every function.
I
So
love it. And I
yeah,
hadn't thought of that, but after you said that to me, I was like, that totally makes sense though, too, because I look at the heart of it in so many ways, like the TMF, like I think it means it's such a perfect thing that a TMF person is hosting it, because we're the heart of the trial as it runs. And then I'm interviewing people like you and everyone else who are the heart of the everyday, who keep it going and run these trials and are making the success and saving people's lives or enriching people's lives. And so, but yeah, like I just love that when you said that to me, I got to thinking and I was like, oh, that's, I never even got that connection, but that's so perfect. So thank you for that, Anne.
yeah.
I'm gonna throw that in there somewhere, like hosted by. Yeah. Oh, I love it. Oh, this has been so much fun. I've loved chatting with you. Like I said, we're TMF people. We love chatting about TMF. So, and I love that champion thing. I really love that. I'm gonna keep that little nugget in the future. Like I said, I tend to work with smaller sponsors, so they're sometimes have one person who is their department. But if I ever work with smaller ones, I love the idea of that word, making them a champion for it. So, so if anyone would like to reach out to you to chat about TMF, where can they reach you?
I'm on LinkedIn. Um, It's linkedin.com/Ann Ackley TMF SME. Um,
Oh,
yep, and you
that's
can't
so
miss me, the blue hair. Yeah.
I love the blue hair. That's why I recognize you when I see you in anything. And that's why I'm like, I know I've seen you speak because I know that blue hair, but you pull it off so amazing. Seriously. Like, I
Thank
wish I could
you.
pull off blue hair like that. Like, oh, I love it. So yes, so check out our blue-haired lady. I will make sure her information is linked in the show notes. And just thank you again so much for joining us on Heart of the Trial. We really appreciate it, Ann.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
This brings us to the end of today's episode. I want to extend my sincere thanks to our guest for sharing their inspiring journey. If you'd like to connect with them, you can find their contact information in the show notes. I also want to express my gratitude to you for joining us on this exploration of the clinical research industry. I hope you found today's episode insightful. If so, please consider leaving a review on your favorite podcast platform. It truly helps us reach more listeners. If you have any feedback, questions, or comments about the show, feel free to email me at podcast@iceconsultingllc.com. Thank you once again, and I look forward to having you joining us on our next episode of Heart of the Trial.